Welcome, my friends, to the showdown between the Vampire Counts, who shall be led by Heinrich Kemmler. Even KRELL would be impressed. And today, guys, we face off against the Beastmen, who shall be led by Morker the Shadowgave and the dreaded Mino Death Star. So yeah, it's going to be a bunch of Minotaurs. It looks like a Cygor. We got a Giant. And it looks like there's a character with some summons, perhaps. No, it actually is just going to be Viletide. Now, as far as my build goes, in the front, it's going to be Zombie Nation. So we have 4 zombies, we have a couple of groups of Graveguard, and this is going to be somewhat of a Footlord build. It's kind of just a very grindy core that's tough to be, like even if you envelop it, it's very much like a porcupine. Like everything fights back well. We have the Cryptors for some mass to block up some of the monsters, and of course 2 White Kings as well. So yeah, like I said, we got corpse carts that are going to be supporting. One of them is a Walmart corpse cart, and the other one is a little bit nicer. It's the Unholy Lodestone, which of course gives melee attack and melee defense, making those Graveguard 31-41 for combat stats with a bonus versus infantry. I mean, that's really, really solid. Cryptors in the back for mass. Cryptors in general aren't like super good against a lot of things in the Beastmen roster. Good against Bestigors for sure, but they have mass and they apply poison. So if like Beastmen are just kind of running shop on you, they're summoning spawn, these guys have enough mass to keep them from getting where they want to go. On the flank, we do have some Cavs. So we have Blood Knights. Blood Knights are great against Beastmen. They wreck all the Beastmen Cav. They wreck Minotaurs. They're great against Giants. Like, I think Blood Knights are one of the best picks against Beastmen. You should always have at least one, in my opinion, regardless of your build. And up in the sky, we have some Vargheists. So the Vargheists, I think, are pretty cool against Beastmen as well. They're mobile. They hit incredibly hard against light armor. And the name of the game for the Beastmen is light armor for the most part. So they're really good at clearing out chaff units, rear charging things to break them. And even if they have to fight things like a Giant or a Minotaur, if you get the good engagement, they might not win, but they'll do some work. We do also have a Black Coach, which is going to have a pretty fun narrative this game. So make sure to keep an eye on the Black Coach throughout the course of this entire battle. So that is pretty much it, guys. 2 White Kings going to be supporting on the ground. And for the Beastmen herd, Flying Taco, it looks like he has some Ungor Spearman herds. He's got a Giant. He's got a Bray Shaman. Got Morker the Shadowgave and a bunch of Minotaurs. So it looks like it's going to be some with shields just to get extra melee defense. The Eye of Morsleep in the back with some Spearman herds. So this is certainly a cool build for sure. I mean, it certainly doesn't have much in the way of sustainable infantry, but the Minotaurs, you know, they can drop the base. These guys can hit hard for sure. If we take a look here, you can see 110 weapon strength and bonus for infantry on the dual-wielding Minotaur. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. I just drank like a whole thing of sparkly water and it just all burst out there at that very moment. So Cygor throwing in. Oh, nice shot right there, hitting the sterns, man. It looks like it did some serious casualties. Took out about 13 models right there. So that was a great blow coming in from those boys. Vargheists up in the sky. I didn't know if he had any like raiders or other troops hiding. So, oh man, that boulder just goes right over the head of the Vargheists. And another boulder coming in there actually does take out a Cryptor. Interesting. And the Black Coach circling back into the army as well. But yeah, remember, guys, keep an eye on that Black Coach. Very, very important stuff this game. So the Vargheist is going to be flying overhead, just scouting a little bit. And you can see Flying Taco knowing he has the ranged advantage and has no need to push forward and, you know, get trapped up by some of my Cav units or my Hounds or other things like this. Is going to be sitting back and defending his Eye of Morsleep, which is a great play. On the flank, like I said, Blood Knights and the Dire Pack, who I also forgot to mention, are just looking for opportunities to nibble. And for the most part, I will use the Dire Pack as kind of a rear unit. I'm just going to park it back here, and if I am able to break some Minotaurs or something like that, I'll hopefully be able to chase them off the battlefield. So the frontline fighting's almost underway. The Eye of Morsleep still just doing some work here. But, you know, the Sternsmen have been able to kind of stabilize. And, of course, Heinrich Kemmler does have the Chaos Tomb Blade, which does let him resurrect models, aside from, you know, having to use Invocation to Heck and things like that. We also have KRELL. KRELL will be super useful here. I mean, much more useful than, you know, a lot of other Footlords, because KRELL is going to be able to put some hurt on Minotaurs with his anti-large and all that sort of pressure. But, man, the Boulder's still doing work. Zombies taking a beating as they should. And the Blood Knights, I decided, like, talk about a really good defensive formation, like, around the back. And I figured let's use them as a front-facing unit. And if any Minotaurs or other troops like that do overextend, from there I can just, you know, charge into them with the Blood Knights and hopefully get some decent value. So frontline fighting's underway now. You can see that this is going to be the scariest fight for me, as Morker's here, Bray Shaman, and a Giant as well. But the Sternsmen are more than up to the task of taking a beating. So here they come, charging into the frontline fight. Morker and company braced for the charge. And yeah, the Sternsmen here are certainly going to put some hurt on the chaff. On the far side, we have a big old monster mash. You can see Gorbals and Minotaurs being launched, or just Minotaurs, as the Cryptors do get a nice charge there, supported by a lot of troops. Viletide going down as well, does some nice damage against the zombies, not so much against Graveguard. And in the meantime here, the Minotaurs do charge in, but they kind of somersault through the zombies a little bit, and then they end up getting countercharged by the Blood Knights. So the Blood Knights with the Cryptor support, very powerful, because you're applying poison, and you also have heavy anti-large coming in. And the Giant, realizing that this is a more important fight, is going to be coming over here, jumping on the vampiric forces, and doing some okay work, but really, you know, not doing too much punishing damage. And KRELL has been summoned in the backline, so KRELL, oh, the Warp Gaze, I was wondering why he wasn't moving there. So the Warp Gaze has been used by the Eye of Morsleep to lock him in place, but KRELL, as soon as he gets out of this trap, is going to be going over here. During the game, I thought it was just my miss micro, because I did give him an order, but he was trapped. Treachery. So KRELL's going to be sprinting over here, hopefully doing some work. This entire Beastmen formation being crumped pretty bad. The chaff unit's taking a beating. Spawn summons from Morker have been used, but they should be going down rather quickly against the corpse cart supported infantry units. Heinrich Kemmler going to be running on foot, dropping a zombie summon to try and get away from the Eye of Morsleep, and the Vargeist in the back just kind of diving after weak targets. So here we dive in after the Bray Shaman. Granted, there are some Minos nearby, so we pull out immediately. Going to be pulling back down this way, trying to escape, but yeah, it was a bit of a dicey engagement there. Thankfully, I had some zombies nearby, so I can pull back through the zombies and tarp at the Minotaurs there. But yeah, that was a sloppy one. I think I lost a guy, and it wasn't pretty. Now, bounce power is relatively even, a little bit falsely inflated because of the Beastmen summons. The spawn here were summoned as well, right on top of my Blood Knights. It's a dicey fight. I mean, you know, Giants are usually pretty good against vampires. He still has a couple of them. Some Cryptors here are being worked on, but they still have 12 models. And Heinrich Kemmler just being very careful, because if he gets caught by either of these giant beasts, he'll be in a world of hurt. As far as KRELL goes, KRELL's fighting in the pits, you know, chopping down some of the Minotaurs, taking a lot of damage, but this is great. There's like 2,000 gold worth of resources here focusing on KRELL, and KRELL is just a free summon unit. Granted, he's not like quote-unquote free, because you have to pay for him with Heinrich Kemmler. You know, you have to bring Heinrich Kemmler, but he, you know, he's doing some work, hurting the Minotaurs. As far as kills go, he probably doesn't have too many, but the 3 kills he does have, I believe, are all against Minotaurs. And you can see this group is down to 6, and he does also cause terror, so circumstantially he could rout off some of these units here. Now on the far side, Heinrich Kemmler getting busy as well, charging into some of the Blood Knights, going after these Minotaurs right here with his Chaos Tomb Blade. Active in combat, he is going to potentially be resurrecting some Blood Knights that do fall here to the Minotaurs, and this group should be breaking off as we then use the Vargeist up in the sky, pulling away from this northern engagement and using them as a rear charge, hard-hitting unit to break off this Minotaur blob. And I mean, it's not a blob really, but there are 4 of them. Over here, we do have the White King still fighting as well. White Kings, I think we have 2. There's one here, and there's one fighting in here. That might actually be KRELL still going strong. KRELL is still beast moding it. It's going to the bitter end here. So I noticed that in the center there were some spears attacking Cryptors, so I pulled those guys back. But more importantly, we are able to break off the Minotaurs, and now you guys are probably asking the eternal question, where's that Black Coach? What has Turin, what MLG plays has he been up to? Well, alas guys, the Black Coach decided to watch the ethereal pilots sitting on the chair, just kind of eating some, I don't know what vampire snack on, but they're just doing that. And yeah, so I completely forgot about the Black Coach the entire game. So Blood Knights over here are going to be charging into the Minotaurs. A little bit of a troublesome situation. You know, I'm overwhelmed here. There's spear support, which is going to allow the Minotaurs to not be exclusively focused by the Blood Knights. But the pit fight's going well. I mean, the Giants are actually being worn down by zombies and Cryptors, and even though White Kings are bonus for his infantry, they still have good enough combat stats to wear down giant units. It's something I found that if you don't want to play like the Vargeist kind of sniping game with vampires, like White Kings on the ground can usually deal with a lot of like big armored threats. It's or just big threats in general. It's quite surprising. So some of the Minotaurs here do overextend. We pull back, then we engage with our very beat up Blood Knights as well as the Vargeist here, and they are going to be jumping on the Minotaurs here. Invocation of Neheg going down as well on the Vargeist, keeping those guys fighting, and they should be able to win this. Minotaurs are getting crumpled by the anti-large and just high DPS pressure from these bat vampire creatures, and for the first time in the game, the bounce power does come into my favor, as a lot of the Minotaurs on the periphery of the battlefield are getting very, very beat up, and Heinrich Kemmler just cackling all the way to the bank as those Minos do break up on the hill. Now here on the ground, we do have Morker the Shadowgave, we have Minotaurs with shields, we do also have a Bray Shaman with the Lore of Wild, but the Eye of Morsleep's getting kind of worked down by the Cryptors, who also disallow these things from moving about. If you have the Cryptors, they have enough mass to keep Giants in place, and when they try and retreat, they're poisoned. So it's Cryptors are pretty good for like kind of keeping things, you know, big monsters in place. I mean, they might not necessarily burn them down super quick like other anti-large specialists, but yeah, well, they're not anti-large specialists. You guys get the picture. Morker the Shadowgave going to be going in, trying to slap the Corpse Cart, trying to get rid of the supporting buffs. This is the Walmart Corpse Cart. It only costs 250 gold. And I have to say, those cheap like Corpse Carts that cost like that little are very, very good distraction carnifexes. Those guys, like, people often over-prioritize them, but in this case, like, there's no other options for him to really attack. I would have done the exact same thing. So he does go after the Corpse Cart right here, and you can see that the Minotaur is going to be fighting in the back against Heinrich Kemmler and his Zombie Legion. And now we get the Vargeist once again to dive in, 42 kills, and they're getting some good punch. You can see the HP trickling off the Eye of Morsleep here, almost 100 at a time from each of those attacks. Certainly not bad, but the supporting spears coming in from Taco and Minotaurs and the Bray Shaman does force me back once again. But the big giant's slowly being worn down. The other Corpse Cart here is putting the melee attack of the White Kings up to 39, which easily circumvents the 39 melee defense here of this giant, and of course the terror from the giant is not going to be pertinent, as I am a spooky vampire. Heinrich Kemmler and company able to break off and shatter them. Blood Knights in the back coming in once more, and that is going to be army losses for the Beastmen. So well played to Taco. It was a fun game. I think the build that I brought was pretty strong against Beastmen. I think the but the Blood Knights plus the Vargeist are very strong, and I think that like most Beastmen infantry forces would probably lose against the double White King, 3 Graveguard, and Corpse Cart support. So I feel like it's pretty good. Granted, it has its weaknesses, of course. Like if there was like some Ungor Raiders or missile units, like my cores could have gone down really quickly. I mean, there's a number of ways to fight it, but I think it's a matchup that's also Vampire Count favored. So it worked pretty well in that respect. Now for Taco's build, after the game, he mentioned that I think he was just experimenting with the build, just trying something new. I doubt that's his typical build against Vampire Counts, but it had some teeth for sure. But the thing is the front line breaks so quickly with the Ungor Spears that all of the Cryptors and just like other things can then isolate and jump on the Minotaurs. You're getting Blood Knight charges on Minos, and it's just it's rough for them to kind of endure. But I really like the Giant. Eye of More Sleeps. I don't know. The Eye of More Sleep I think is something I wouldn't bring because it. I guess against my style of build, it's better because there are good targets on the ground. But typically, a lot of Vampire players will bring just like crappy chaff, like skeletons and zombies, and then from there they use like big monsters and single entities, which the Eye of More Sleep is pretty terrible against. So I would probably cut that. But yeah, as far as that goes, Minotaurs maybe like if you cut the Eye of More Sleep and cut one Minotaur and then just get like a couple Bestigors to mix in to get like some serious punch in the front line, then the Minotaurs aren't going to be able to get isolated and kind of surrounded. But yeah, it's just something to think about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Count versus Beastmen game. Taco and I had a couple great games, and you guys will be seeing the other ones relatively shortly, if not before this one. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.